to the Physioplata podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Patrick Damrath, and hosting with me is Dr. Rod Henderson. Today, we're going to talk about how you should schedule your strength, mobility, and jiu-jitsu during your week. So we've talked about this kind of concept a little bit on a different episode. And but we never got into like how many sessions should you do per jiu-jitsu, per strength or mobility work.
Jiu-jitsu every day. Jiu-jitsu every day, all day.
That would be good. I don't know. I'd probably go crazy.
Is that what we're doing? Jiu-jitsu every day, 7 days a week.
If you had to do that, what? Let me ask you this. This is interesting. I want to know from your perspective, which time do you prefer for jiu-jitsu? I'll give you three options.
Morning class.
I'll give you that 6 a.m.
Okay, let's do this.
I'll give you 6 a.m.
Okay.
I'll give you the nice noon class, lunch class. Yeah. And then I'll give you that 6:30 p.m. class.
Oh, man, that's tough. I've done all three. I've done all three. And I can say for sure, at 10th Planet, we have a 5 a.m. class.
Oh, my God.
And they're just lunatics. They're crazy people.
They're all zombies.
They're all great people. I love everybody. I love everybody that shows up to that class, but they're just fucking nuts, right? And then there's noon. But I just gotta be honest. Noon is probably my favorite class.
I have yet to meet somebody who doesn't like the noon class, man.
It's so chill, man. I love me some noon classes when I can get to them. It's just everybody's like, hey, it's great.
What's up?
Yeah, and then the 6 o'clock class is just a box of chocolates, man. You never know who's going to be showing up in that class. You don't know what kind of mood they're going to be in. Some of them are going to be happy. Some are going to be pissed. There's a new guy.
I think what you can probably take into consideration when you're going to the evening classes that 90% of the people probably didn't have the greatest day, and they want to take it out on somebody. Let's just be honest.
Yeah.
I'm gonna raise my hand right here.
They're just ready to take out their day on somebody, huh?
Exactly.
Damn, man. That's for real.
I hate working with that person.
Yeah.
It's pissing me off.
Yeah.
Give me his armbar.
For real. I do think that there's a certain saltiness to the evening classes. and then the noon class is definitely optimal. If I had my choice, it would probably be noon classes.
Oh yeah, no doubt. 100%. Noon is the surfer/business class.
Everybody's so chill.
Oh yeah.
Dude,
but you're still getting in good work.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember showing up to a noon class one time, which was me and Carlos. Shout out Carlos. And we just rolled for an hour. And we're like, hey, let's work this. Let's work that. It was just a total impromptu session with no warm-ups. We didn't do anything. We was just like, hey, man, what's going on? Slap bump. And we just started working. It was great. Noon classes all the way. Mm-hmm. Sorry, what were we talking about?
Okay. We're talking about how do you fit your training routine into your week.
Yeah. How do you keep it all organized?
How do you organize it? How much do you do of one? How much do you do of the others? So do you want to just kind of jump into what you're doing? Like just give us a spill of how your week kind of schedule training looks like.
Well, let me tell you what I had been doing, and it was a big mistake. I think for years and years and years, I did lots of strength and conditioning work. And then when I got into jiu-jitsu, I'm just going to be honest, I went all in on jiu-jitsu and really let my strength and conditioning fall by the wayside. I thought, well, because you always hear the stories, jiu-jitsu is great exercise. It is, but it's not sufficient. I would say it's one of those things that jiu-jitsu is necessary, but not sufficient for total body health and well-being. So I think I went through, I'd say my white and blue belt years almost doing nothing but jiu-jitsu. And that was a big mistake. And so lately I've having to make better choices about planning my week and making sure I get my jiu-jitsu in, making sure I work on my skills, getting some good rolls in, but also making sure that I'm getting my strength training in and making sure I'm getting my mobility work in, which I usually work my mobility work in with my strength training.
That's good. So you just kind of do a little warm up where you work on flexibility.
Yeah. So okay. I'll do things like the kettlebell windmill and bent press and the kettlebell arm bar. Those are things I love doing, those kettlebell mobility type exercises. And then plus I love doing some of the gymnastics movements that I do, handstands and that sort of thing. Those are just kind of fun things for me to do. Along with my strengthening. And my strengthening work is pretty basic. We can talk about that later on. But the thing lately that I've been integrating back into my routine is just good old basic cardio and just, low intensity, long duration cardio, some sprints as well in there and some threshold training. And it seems to be making a huge difference for me. I feel a lot better. But planning that out is always a challenge, and I think you have to kind of do that based on who you are and what your needs are.
Why don't you let me just hear you give us an example of what your week usually looks like when it comes to that stuff?
Yeah. So usually I'm training about 3 days a week. Sometimes if I can push it, I'll get 4. But
this is jiu-jitsu?
I'm sorry. Yeah, this is jiu-jitsu. So I'm trying to get to class, and most of the time I'm getting to class or an open mat. I call open mat like a class too. Mm-hmm. It's more towards the end of the week. My Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays are a little bit more stacked up with family stuff. So if I get an early session on Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, I'm pretty fortunate. So the way I problem solve that is that I front load my strength and conditioning on those days. So I know I'm not going to do a ton of jiu-jitsu on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Mm-hmm. So that's when I'm really making sure I get my strength training in, and that's where I'm really trying to make sure I get my cardio sessions in. And then Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, usually I'm getting at least one session in on those days, and then trying to get, if possible, trying to get another session in on a Saturday and a Sunday. So we have leg lock class on Saturday, and then we get rolls afterwards. We try to get about 3 to 4 sessions in a week. And of course, I got my mats here. So when I can, I have a buddy over and we'll do some training or some drilling here. But then on Mondays and then Mondays and Thursdays, that's when I'm doing my strength and conditioning work. And then I try to get in my cardio in there as well. My wife likes to work out early in the morning. Mm-hmm. So before work. So I try to get to the gym with her. We go to good old Planet Fitness and do our basic cardio there in the mornings.
I want to just give a shout out real quick to Planet Fitness. And the reason why is because their ab core, I know some people don't like the core definition or like the labeling of exercise.
I definitely hate it.
I get it, man. But the ab exercises, the machines and equipment that they have is first class. I have seen equipment there in that ab section that I've not seen in any other gym, and that I feel should be in every other gym. And I'm not just talking about crunch machines, not just talking about exercise balls and whatever. I'm talking about lower abdominal machines. You have your trunk rotational machines because again, when we're talking about, I have a pet peeve about those because you can do them. They have them as a sitting version. Those machines where you're doing the trunk twist for your obliques.
Yep.
Don't like that one, but they have one that you kneel on with chest pads. That's much better, and you can very much control that range of motion way better, and you know how you can mitigate some of that stress on the spine because that's always a concern when you're doing loaded twists like that. But their equipment is really, really good, and I have nothing but good things to say about Planet Fitness, and it's a great place to work out.
As a strength and conditioning guy who likes barbells and kettlebells, I'm supposed to hate Planet Fitness. I understand that. I know that I'm supposed to dislike Planet Fitness. But my wife got a membership there. And I remember when she first got the membership, it kind of pissed me off. All right. I've got a pretty nice gym out in the garage. I mean, we got mats, we got barbells, we got kettlebells. I got good kettlebells, right? The good kind. We got all kinds of stuff. But she likes Planet Fitness. It's just more comfortable. You go to Planet Fitness, it's clean. It's comfortable. And they do it, overall, I think they do a pretty good job. I could quibble with some of their stuff, but it's a fine place to work out.
Look, I would love to have a squat rack in there, like a proper platform. You know what I mean?
Some they don't have a squat rack. All they got is Smith machines.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus. But hey,
look, but all in all, it's a good concept.
This is fine.
I appreciate what they're doing.
Yeah. So it's in that I like my workouts and my cardio sessions with my wife in the mornings because we're busy, and so that's a time where it's just she and I. It's my daughter's not there, and we're just training together. And that's why I like to, we get to talk, we get to kind of hang out. It's I like that part of it. So that's how I map it out. I wish I could maybe spread things out a little bit more. I wish I could be a little bit more strategic about my training, but it's my program is kind of it's a more of a logistical balance than anything else. What about you?
Okay, I'll give you my week breakdown. On Monday is usually a rest day, and I'll get to why that is.
Okay.
Monday is my rest day.
I know why Monday's a rest day. You got comp class on Sunday.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
gotcha. All right. Yeah.
So, there's lots of like rehydration. So I say rest day, but it is a recovery day.
Yeah, recovery day. Got you.
So which can entail still some like flexibility work or some, like PT, corrective exercise, whatever you want to call it. Definitely, is going to be, included in Monday. But overall, Monday is a rest day. Tuesday is going to be a weightlifting day.
Okay.
Wednesday is going to be a jiu-jitsu day. Thursday, is going to be again it's a combination of a weightlifting day and a hot yoga day. So that's my flexibility with my
yoga.
strength.
You like that hot yoga, huh?
You know what? I will have to, and I know we're giving shout outs to things right now, but I will have to say like nothing has helped my flexibility as much as it has improved with hot yoga. And
bro, I'm with you on this. Yeah. I'm with you. I hate admitting how much I enjoy hot yoga.
Yeah.
I hate it.
And,
I like it.
And the reason is just because it's the global approach of flexibility in different areas that tend to bog down other areas. So, for example, in my case, a lot of times my thoracic spine is really restricted in mobility. So doing some mobility work there for my thoracic spine helps my lumbar spine, helps my hips sometimes even, it just trickles down. So I definitely get a lot out of it.
Cool. Where do you train? Where do you do your hot yoga?
My hot yoga, I'm going to shout out Black Swan Yoga.
Black Swan. I've heard of this place.
It's my favorite place. I've been to a few different yoga places, but so far, hands down,
Black Swan Yoga. Shout out Black Swan Yoga, Houston.
Yeah, they have multiple locations. They have one in Kirby in the Heights. That's where I go in that area, and they're going by a donation principle, really. So you can donate how much you want to donate, and that's your payment for the class.
What?
Yeah.
Dude, that's sweet. Shout out Black Swan. That's great.
Shout out Black Swan.
That's really cool.
And I will tell you another thing. I've had yoga instructors who they just whether they go through the motions or whatever, I don't know, but it's just not as good. But here's what happens at Black Swan. I've had this with multiple different instructors. They have PT vision. They have PT eyes. What I mean by that is they pick out these individuals in the class, and yes, sometimes that's me. They pick out these individuals and they see we're struggling with a certain position, and maybe even they see how we move in to the room. Mm-hmm. And I'll be stretching my neck sometimes. I'll be stretching my shoulder. They pick it up, and then they're like, "Oh, okay, today, guys, we're going to
bring you to the front," and they shame you in front of the entire class.
No, they're way too nice for that. They're just going to incorporate a lot of components in that flow class, whatever that might be, and they're customizing it every time that you're going there. And not just you. They ask around, "Hey guys, what do you guys want to work on today?" And then going back to those PTIs, when they see somebody that's having a difficult time, whether it be flexibility related or whatever, they give you alternatives. They'll really instruct you on how to use the blocks or how to use different positions, position yourself a little bit better. And they're really good about delivering the same message that we are. And it's basically listen to your body, be nice to your body, know when to push it, but definitely know when not.
Yeah.
And they're really balanced in that approach, and I really get a lot out of going.
That's pretty cool. Can I do a shout out? I'm going to shout out to one of my coworkers. Her name's Leslie Miller. She's a physical therapist, and she works at I don't know if she's still working there right now or still doing classes at Big, which is another hot yoga place out in the same area. And man, I tell you what, as someone who it's taken me a while, but getting to where I acknowledge how good yoga is took me a while. I'm not a big fan of yoga early on. I always thought it was kind of new agey. It still is kind of new agey, but I got into yoga a little bit more, and then went to a class that Leslie ran, and it was a hot yoga class. It was so good. I really loved it. I think if you have never done hot yoga, I would definitely suggest give it a shot. So Black Swan sounds like a good place. Mm-hmm. Big is there's all kinds of places, but give it a shot. Give it a shot.
I think you can find your little niche, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you can find it's like jiu-jitsu school. Some people are like comp related. Some people are more technique, chill.
Yeah.
Just find your place. I would definitely recommend incorporating hot yoga.
Okay, so
into your routine.
let's get back to it. So you do hot yoga on Thursdays
and weightlifting on Thursdays.
And weightlifting. Okay, got it.
Friday is again another jiu-jitsu, and then Saturday is a heavy lifting day if I can make it.
Okay.
And the reason why I say if I can make it is it depends on my work week, how stressful or how packed it was. And it depends on my hydration level because it's so hot right now. I'm struggling to, especially with the hot yoga and jiu-jitsu classes, hydration is crucial. And I do feel that by the end of the week, that hydration sometimes is just not where it needs to be. Yeah. And that's why sometimes I will have to do another rest day on Saturday.
Okay.
But Sunday is comp class. And that's pretty much it then.
Yeah. And you training in the gi, and then we're in Houston. And right now the temperatures are kind of in the 104 to 110. I mean, it's just ridiculously hot out there. Man.
I saw this meme. I don't know if you've seen it. This meme like where they're turning on the faucet outside where water's supposed to come out and it's just flames coming out.
Dude, that's in Houston right now. It's just ridiculous. And I generally think training in the gi is crazy to begin with. And so training in the gi in this kind of conditions right now, you guys got to be sweating your butts off right now.
Yeah, we're sweating. We're sweating.
I mean, I'm already the sweaty guy at the gym.
You are.
I'm the sweaty guy, and so I can't imagine training in the gi right now.
But here's the thing: you've got sleeves. You can wipe the sweat off easily.
Yeah, but once the sleeves get completely saturated, which they do, it's not going anywhere other than in your mouth. And so that's what's happening, man. That's what's up, dude. You are going to, we call it at our gym, we call it nectar of the gods, man. You're going to,
and you're the main guy for it,
You are going to be drinking my sweat. So,
that's so disgusting.
Shout out Rod Sweat. Yeah, that's pretty bad. But,
everybody who's been, having to deal with that nightmare, I mean, just put a comment in there. Tell Rod to bring some towels in.
Dude, for real. It's just real. I don't think I've told everybody the story yet, but that was how I got my first tap as a white belt.
Oh,
I'm not gonna lie. I was rolling with this like 13-year-old kid. He weighed he weighed about 110 pounds, and of course I'd been training for about I don't know 5 months or whatever, and I was getting smashed. No. I had this kid in mount, and the best path for my sweat is right at the top of my forehead, man. Dude, he was like, his mouth, he's looking, this dude just went right in his mouth. He goes, and as soon as he did that, man, he gave me his arm, and I spun around and got an arm bar. So, so screw that kid. I got an arm bar.
God.
So shout out that kid.
Yeah, man, you're a trooper, dude.
Yeah.
I hope you're still training. I hope you're still around. You may have spoiled it for life.
Yeah, I think he probably quit that night. Yeah, but still.
He probably moved cities too.
It's so awful. I've done it to several people though. Nectar of the gods, baby. But okay, so
so that's mine. That's your weekly kind of like schedule, and it depends on, again, like there's different factors that are going to impact your routine, and the most important aspect I think of this set schedule is to be flexible.
Yeah.
To be flexible. Maybe if you can't be flexible in the times or days that you're having some certain, training regimens set up for, be flexible with your intensity, be flexible with the time you spend in this training session, because your work week is going to matter. That's going to place a big impact on how you're feeling, how your energy levels are. We talked about environment, like heat, weather is going to impact your performance and your output. So the worst thing would be to stick to a rigid schedule, exhaust yourself because of other factors, and go through your training routine, trying to hit the same numbers, trying to hit the same output every week, and just wear yourself down and kind of increase your risk of injury. That's not ideal. That's not what we're training for. That's not why we're having this set schedule. So let's talk a little bit about what I saw from, I don't know if you guys are following Jiu-Jitsu, Bulletproof BJJ and their podcast. I think they've got some really good information. I don't always listen to the whole podcast, but one thing that I picked up on social media from them, it was their layout of the weekly routine. They don't give too many specifics necessarily to what they were saying, but they were basically saying they like to recommend a 2-3-3 routine. That means 2 strength sessions per week, 3 jiu-jitsu sessions per week, and 3 flexibility mobility sessions per week. What do you think about that, Ron?
It sounds good. I mean, it sounds like a good basic formula. I think, obviously what you do in those sessions is probably worth talking about, but I think having that as a template, if you did that consistently over a period of 4 to 8 weeks, you would really notice a positive difference in how you felt and how you performed. Now, it does make a difference. What does your strength training look like? What does your mobility training look like? But I think for me, I put a premium on consistency. Mm-hmm. So if you did that formula over a period of time, I think you would be happy with the results. That being said, I think if you had any regular formula that you applied over 4 to 8 weeks and were consistent with it, and it had different elements of strength training, mobility, cardio, I think if you were consistent with it, that would probably also work as well.
Yeah, I like the word you use. Template is a good word, and I do like their layout. I would perhaps change that a little bit personally, but I like also what you said a little bit earlier off camera about being, again, flexible with that layout, because some people might, like you said, need a little bit more of mobility work, and others might need a little bit more of the strength and conditioning work. And then sometimes you might have to substitute one of those for cardio and just stick to cardio on that day and stuff like that. So I think it's a good layout. And I don't know, though, that I think I would switch it a little bit, honestly. I would probably do 3 strength and conditioning sessions per week, 3 jiu-jitsu if possible, and then I would do 2 mobility sessions.
I think that's a good. I would probably make that adjustment as well. And again, it's going to be individualized a little bit. I think, if you're putting together a program, I think consistency and individuality is a really important part of it. For me, I'm a pretty strong guy, but I'm also, my stamina is not the best right now, and my mobility needs work. So maybe mine might be a little bit different than yours. If your mobility is good, but your strength isn't so good. I still get people, man, you're really, really strong. And I'm like, low key, I always think, all right, dude, whatever. And then it's like an insult. Maybe I'm just being sensitive, but it's like, oh, you're really, really strong. My strength is pretty good. And so, but I like to strength train. So I think if I just play to my strengths, so to speak, and I just do my strength training and I don't pay attention to my cardio, my mobility, I'm going to start accumulating some problems. And that's exactly what's happened over the last year. I can't train like I used to train. I have to be a little bit more strategic about what I'm doing. I'm having issues with stamina. I'm having issues with mobility. So that ratio for me might be a little bit different than the ratio for you. But what I would do is say, okay, this is going to be the template for the next 4 to 6 weeks. And then stick with that. Be consistent with that.
Yeah.
But also be intuitive as well. It's kind of a balance.
Yeah. Again, we said it's a template, right? So we can definitely plug and play here and there. And here's another reason why I'm saying you should do another strength or a weightlifting session rather than a mobility session. And that's because if you're doing 3 jiu-jitsu sessions, there is mobility in jiu-jitsu every time.
There's mobility in strength training.
There's mobility in strength training, especially if you're using kettlebells. Love to do those. But yeah, absolutely, right? So I think I prefer it more if you're, in general, unless you're like a bodybuilder kind of guy. I think I'd prefer you place a little bit more time and effort into your weightlifting, in your strength training, perhaps even cardio, than the flexibility aspect, just because it comes from multiple different aspects. That flexibility, it's being addressed. As long as you're active, as long as you're doing multi-directional movements, you should be okay on that. And then every once in a while, a couple of times a week, you should emphasize especially those areas that you're really lacking flexibility in, and just focus on that. But other than that, you should be covering your strength and jiu-jitsu the most.
Yeah, and I think that's the biggest problem that people get into in general, is that they pick one thing that they like to do and they stick with that.
And so they're usually picking the thing they're good at.
Right. And we all do that. That's human, right? So, as I was getting better at jiu-jitsu, I was like, oh, well, I could just do jiu-jitsu and this will cover everything. Meanwhile, I gained, like 15 to 20. And people do it when they run, right? They go, oh, I'm just going to run for my exercise. That's terrible. I got bad news for you. If you like to run and that's your choice, it's a bad thing just to run. If all you do is strength train, it's a bad idea just to do strength training.
Yeah.
You need to have a kind of a multimodal type of training where you're doing, your strength training is important, but you've also got to make sure you're doing, doing the other activities as well. They're going to benefit your body. And I think, any one type of thing, you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket, so to speak.
Yeah. And I think it's important to be honest with yourself, not only during your training session to assess how you are feeling and modify the intensity or weight or length of your session. But it's also important to be honest with the problems that you're experiencing or the deficiencies that you have. And I think that's why we like jiu-jitsu, because it presents us with a problem, and some problems we can solve better than others, and those that we're not so good at solving when it comes to certain positions or escapes or control aspects, that's in our face. We should be working on that, and we should be making that a priority and emphasis until we get better at it. And that's the same thing with your weekly, schedule or the way you're implementing your training sessions or emphasis of your overall well-being, I should say. If you're lacking flexibility, especially in your hips, like me, you should place more emphasis on getting that in order. And if you're lacking, strength because you're a little bit more lean, I highly recommend weight training. Highly recommend it for joint health, for just reducing your risk of tears potentially and stuff like that.
And I'll tell you one other thing that we haven't brought up yet is that typically we're not always the best judges of our own capabilities. And that's why it's good to have someone to go, hey man, and to be honest with each other about this. Hey man, you really need to work on your stamina. You really need to be working on your mobility, because I think left to my own devices, I would just do what I'm good at. But if I've got somebody that's going, hey man, we really got to work, hey Patrick, man, your hip mobility really needs work. Let's focus on that. It's not easy to take a deficiency or an issue that you're having and really work on it because you suck at it to begin with. You always want to do the stuff you're good at.
Yeah.
But if your hip mobility sucks, it's hard to get out of bed in the morning going, hey, I'm really going to work on this thing that sucks. So that's why having a coach or having a teammate that motivates you to address these things, or your own coach to be there and kind of advise you along the way. I'm not making the case for us as to be your main point of contact for that sort of thing, but having somebody that can objectively look at what you're doing and make a recommendation based on that is typically a little bit better than just kind of going at it.
Yeah.
On your own.
And that goes for a lot of things, but being your own judge and critic is sometimes difficult on those certain aspects when it comes to especially things you can't see as well as others can see. But then perhaps go by comments. You as well as me, we get a comment of, hey, you're really strong. You're really strong. You should be competing more. Well, that's great. So guess what? I should be placing a little bit less emphasis on strength training. Now, again, that's going heavy with weights, right?
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that I'm going to not work out with weights as much. So what I'm trying to say is I can go lighter on my squats and deadlifts, but I should still work on my hamstring curls, on my leg presses, on my calves and stuff like that. So that's just overall health. But it just means that I don't have to push it as hard. I don't have to go so heavy on those to get stronger.
Yeah.
I should be making up what I'm not as good at. And again, we talked about flexibility being one of those things. Technique, definitely another one of those, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Look,
you actually are, sidebar. You actually are surprisingly strong. When I say that, and that's it's not like a low key insult or anything, but this is going to sound bad, but you don't look.
Oh,
you just. Okay,
whoa!
right. I look at you and I'm like, athletic. Yeah. I'm like,
all right. Might as well set
I'm
string
looking at you and I'm like, triangles,
paper thin.
but I'm thinking, I'm thinking you would be like a real guardy kind of a guy, real string bean, not a string bean. That's terrible. We can cut that out later. But I'm saying,
and that's exactly why I have no confidence and won't quit you just every once in a while.
No, but for real though, I remember one time he snatched that Kimura grip on me. I was like, whoa, man, this little dude's strong,
I'll go
man.
straight back at you. And I was like, oh, this old guy doesn't know what's coming. He thinks he's safe in half guard. I'm going to snatch his freaking arm. I was like 80% of the way. And then all of a sudden I felt this gear kick in. And I was like, oh, this guy is stopping me. That's impressive.
Yeah. Well, I remember you locked that, you had that Kimura, and I was like, oh, God, this kid's strong. It's going to be a long day if I don't shuck this off. But I mean, it's, and you don't always realize, I would look at you and I would go, unless I did some sort of testing or some sort of evaluation, I would say, well, you really need to work on your strength. But then once we trained, I was like, oh shit, okay, he's actually quite strong.
And I will go ahead and say, man, this is because when I was young, and I don't know if we talked about it on a previous episode, but I was so excited about this strongman competition that would pop up on TV, because back in the day, the kind of programs we had, there's nothing like professionally coming up besides soccer. And I was so freaking bored of soccer, man.
This is Germany, right?
This is in Germany. So this is where I grew up. And, every so often, like especially every summer, they would like hit these reruns, and sometimes also like live. I think it was actually live strongman competitions.
You like that?
Ryan Shaw. I forget. Big Z back in the day, Mariusz Pudzianowski. Those guys were jacked, and they were so freaking strong, pulling cars or lifting cars, man. I was so into strength at that point. I started just weightlifting, just really like devoting a lot of time and energy towards getting strong. And I think I have, knock on wood, I have been able to participate in a lot of different activities, a lot of different sports. And yes, I have made mistakes. I have been injured, of course, but big injuries, I think, have been prevented by me actually being strong.
Being strong.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, you certainly are strong. And so,
thank you, man.
And I do think, being able to assess yourself and kind of know where you're at, or have somebody assess you objectively, someone that's got your best interest in mind, is a real key to. One of my training partners the other day, shout out Gerald, said, "Hey man," said, "you're doing really good. Your technique is good. You're still fast. For my age, he's like, hey, you're pretty fast." He said, "But your stamina, man."
Yeah.
He says, it's just your gas tank.
Your gas tank. Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, I got to really start working on that, man.
Dude, man, that's what training teammates are for.
Yeah.
I mean, and on the reason why I was going on that strength tangent is because I've told some of my teammates or training partners in the past before, man, you're so flexible. It's so hard to get past your legs, and your regarding is exceptionally, good. And so take this as an example of, hey, I don't need to do as much work on my flexibility. I'm already good at it.
Yeah.
Let me add some strength to this so that I can actually push somebody that's heavier away from me
get strong
while I'm regarding.
Yeah.
Don't let your ligaments and connective tissue be the safeguard of your joints, when you can have your muscle and just that power you can gain and strength from working with weights in a reasonable fashion to help your guard game. And that's for real. And that's what I was trying to push and emphasize on.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and I think the take home for all this is that, you want to be strategic about scheduling your week out and making sure it's not just jujitsu. It's not just one type of training. You've got to be strategic about how you plan your week out. It needs to be based off of what you need. And you don't want to just take, okay, well, this is the template that this website says I should use. It needs to be a template based off what you need. And some of us need, more emphasis on aspects of our training than others. Some of us need more strength. Some of us need more mobility. Some of us need more stamina. And that's what should dictate the strategy of your weekly training schedule.
See what you're having difficulties with when you're training. Take comments from your teammates and think about them deliberately. And let that be an additional guide to help you in what you should be working on more than other things, and help you to structure your training routine.
Yeah, and be consistent.
Be consistent. That's so important, man. That's what I say all the time to people I work with. When they're lacking flexibility, mobility, when they're lacking strength, it doesn't matter how much you're thinking about a certain exercise, thinking about shoe wear. It's like, how consistent are you with the activity you're trying to get better at?
Well, it's at, I forget who said it. I'm gonna screw it all up. Was it Plato or Socrates? I can't remember. It's like, you are what we repeatedly do.
Yes.
And so, I mean, that is definitely an element of this whole process that we're trying to push. So, well, that's all we got for you today, folks. Until next time. Hey, listen, if you like what you're hearing, if you like our content, we really would appreciate you hitting like and subscribe, leave a comment, let us know how we're doing. And until then, we'll see you next time. Peace.